Howdy peeps, and welcome back to another episode of the Eduard Spitfire Mark 8 build series. Some people have wondered why I leave the box in shot at the start of the video for a minute or so. Generally what that is just so it gives me the thumbnail. When you upload it to YouTube, it gives you a choice of sort of 3 or 4 thumbnails to use, and if you leave the box there, usually it gives you something from the start of the video, so that just keeps it so everything's got the same thumbnail for the build series or for a kit review or whatever. Anyway, today, as it is a new day and I've got to be fairly rapid because I'm going to work today, we should, with a bit of luck, almost get construction completed. And if I don't, well, then there'll only be a couple of bits left to do. Maybe the canopy will need masking, but I've already done a video on how I mask canopies, showing several different variants, so that's covered there. So let's get on, shall we? What's up first is the tail gear. So we'll put that out of the way. Grab sprue I, if I can remember which one it is. It's not the clear parts, I know that much. Ooh, random empty bag from I think that was from a review I just did of a Tamiya. Ooh, getting a bit breezy again in here today. Ooh, hiccups. That's the one. I think that's sprue I. As it appears to have a tail wheel on it. That was my clue. The thing with these Eduard Spitfires is you do get a lot of spare parts. 12, 14 and 6. Because they use basically the same sprues to do all the various different variants or marks, so you get different tails, wingtips, all sorts. Right, where did 6 go? It's that tiny little bit there, right. And whilst there are only, this being a weekend edition, there are just the 2 marking options in it. If you went for the Profi pack or Profi pack, whichever way you want to call it, you usually get 5 or 6 marking options. And as it is the same kit, just with the extra marking options and some photo etch, there tend to be slightly different versions covered. Now, I'm no expert, and I tend not to build specific planes or tanks historically. I tend to go with whichever one has the coolest looking colour scheme or looks the most interesting of the lot. For example, if there's one with a couple of big fuel tanks or one with a bunch of missiles and bombs underneath it, I'm going to do the one with the missiles and bombs, as it just looks cooler. Wrong way to do it, look at it possibly, but hey, it's my way, and that's the way I do it, that's the way I choose. Because at the end of the day, we've got to build models we like. No point building something if it's not something you like or think is cool or looks good or whatever your reason is. I say it's got to be something you want to build, otherwise it will kill your mojo. Nothing worse than, well, there are worse things, but in context, a kit that's just going to kill your mojo is a bad thing. Oh, there goes my phone. For some reason I'm popular today. Right, gear bay doors are 5 and 15. Right. May well be a text from work. Can you come in early? Someone's phoned in sick. In which case, no. To be fair, that doesn't seem to happen very often with my new employer, so I'm quite glad about that. And the reason I'm keeping those separate like that is so I remember which one goes which side. Okay, let's turn that way around, which is it's always a lot easier to figure out how things fit if you actually work on the model the same direction that it's showing in the instruction manual. Tail wheels are obvious. It's going to be on a dolly and it's going to be pointing backwards. That doesn't seem a particularly strong mounting method. I mean, it goes in quite a way, but oh well. Let me just use plenty of glue. May not supposed to sit right up against that, but there we go. And I'll rotate it so it's at least semi-straight. There we are. And next is 5 goes this side. Let's pop this down. Add a dollop of glue on there just to grip it once we get it in position. And if we need to, we can add more glue later. And being an awkward curvy shape, it doesn't necessarily want to do what we're asking it to do. And we'll just support it for a few seconds till the glue takes a hold. Otherwise we'll end up with wide open. They are supposed to be fairly wide open. That'll do. It's sanded into roughly the right position anyway. Not quite. Go where you're supposed to. This is probably not the best of ideas to start filming at this time in the morning. As you can imagine, before work, I'm not entirely with it. But hey ho, needs must. I probably won't be able to get up here much for the next 4 days. I might be able to get up here, but whether it's a sensible idea for me to be up here modelling is an entirely different matter. I tend to be fairly worn out after a day at work. It's just one of those things. Right, now we can put it back up on our wheels. And it's all the bits that go on the top now. So if we start with, let's start with the prop, shall we? Don't think we need that sprue anymore at all. So it's 63, 65 and 66. And despite the amount of variance of this Spitfire there is only the one prop and spinner set on the sprue, so that's easy to figure out which one to use, even if the sprue attachment points are in awkward places to get to. We can soon clean them up. Let's just pop that out of the way slightly. Right. Just clean up the sprue attachment points. So we're definitely getting down to the vinegar strokes of this one. So I suspect it will be how I actually go about painting and weathering and decaling and weathering a plane that most will probably be more interested in. And in this case, again, I'll keep it relatively simple, like I normally do. Although I have noticed quite a few people asking about the black basing technique, or getting a bit confused about it. So I was thinking I might black base the underside as it is single colour. Then I would just, on the top half, which is the 2-colour camo, do more of a post fading technique. So I end up with the generally mottled underside and the top side. Just a couple of different methods to show, really. Neither of them are overly complicated, they just take a little bit of airbrush control. And by that I just mean not pulling all the way back on the trigger, and maybe taking the needle cap off just in case the paint dries on the tip, as we're not pulling the needle back very far. It can happen, it usually does. And if you take the needle cap off, it's easy, you just nip the dried paint off with your fingernails. Swift swig. Oh, nearly knocked the can over. Right. 241s and 273s. with the here what I'm doing is there are bits going on from a few different sprues, so I'll clear all the bits off of one sprue first, then move on to the bits from the other sprues. 41, so it's those ones, those tiny little things. Rather than jumping backwards and forwards between different sprues, get the odd part off one and part off the next, I just find it easy to concentrate on clearing one sprue from this step in the instructions and then moving on to the next sprue. It works for me. It's generally not so much of an issue with planes, but some tanks you can get a real mishmash of parts going on from different sprues at the same time, and that can lead to confusion. Right, so the cannons go on the inner ones, the blanking plates on the outer ones. It's a bit of a shame, the other way around would have looked cooler, but you know, we can't have everything. And just make sure that's pointing roughly straight ahead. If anything's slightly canted inwards. Yes, I did say canted. Those, flip it over, yep. Definitely going to have to start a new pot of glue soon. Okay, so that's the cannons on. Cannons, guns, whatever you want to call them. Next is sprue F. We want 37, 51 and 54. So again, some teeny tiny parts which have a tendency to want to jump across the room and disappear into the ether if you're not careful. 51 or 54, wasn't it? That's easy enough to find. Antenna mount and antenna. So we just see if we can find the attachment point on that. Is it at the front? Looks like. If any part's going to be awkward to fit, it's going to be this one, I have a feeling. So let's find out. Just, there. Yep, got it. So, oh, creaky, squeaky. glue in there, and this being tiny and round is going to want to ping off, but hey, we managed it. If it will go in straight, that is. A bit more glue just to flow around the edges, make sure it's well held. And here's one of those parts where you're just praying you don't drop it and it goes inside the fuselage. Been there, done that. Hey, it fit. It shows I must have had the fuselage halves lined up fairly straight to start with, which is always a good sign. And another bit that will have some aero modelers going, but why? That's the back side. You stick the actual aerial antenna. I think technically it's an antenna, as it sends and receives. Aerials just receive. Right. And now just the door on the side, which I had already cut off with a sprue and painted, because it's obviously got interior on it. And with any luck, that'll go in. Not the greatest of fit, but hey ho. Let's try it the other way up. Definitely not. That way up it is then. So So there were different versions of this door and canopy for whether you were building it canopy open, canopy, or just door open, or canopy and door open. Looks to be lined up. I'll just slide that on there for now. So it's just the canopy to put on, which is 3 parts, and we'll need masking. So as we're getting on to 24 minutes now, and I'm pretty sure I can't mask and install a Spitfire canopy in 6 or 7 minutes, we'll call it there, and I will just do that off camera at some point during the week. And the next time you see her, she will be built with the canopy on and masked. I will have also masked off all the clear parts, so the 3 landing or navigation lights on the bottom. I'll use a bit of maskol on those. And that's not fitting very well. I think we might need to chop something back on that. Fairly certain it doesn't need to be that long. See if that helps. Not really, but hey, it's not Here we go. We've got a little bit of flash around the 2 pin marks on here. Clear those off. Let's see if that makes a difference. Kinda, but when we glue it in place we'll be alright. So, yeah, next time you see it she'll be wearing a primer. If there is any seam work to do once she's been primed, I will show doing that, because again it's something I didn't show with the SU-76. We might have to do a bit of work on the wingtips or some of the other seams just to neaten things up and get rid of them so that they're not visible. It's not something you can really tell until you've actually got the primer onto it, so I think we'll call it there, and enjoy your modelling. Peace out, rock on, and bye bye.